Welcome to Holy Trinity Church, Goodramgate, York. This church dates from the 1200s, and as you may just be able to see, it stands in the shadow of York Minster. I'll now take you on a short tour. Firstly, the gardens are very popular spots to take lunch. It's an oasis of quiet in the middle of the hustle and bustle of York. Approaching the south door, the only entrance to the church. To the right is a bell from another Holy Trinity Church, long demolished. Entering the church, you see the Norman font on the left at the entrance, as you would expect. Turning to the central aisle, this would have been the original part of the church, the nave and a small chancel, until it was extended later. And the first thing you may notice, which most of our visitors do, are the box pews. They were designed for families who would rent them for the year. The central ones at least, some were free, others had to stand. It reflected a method of worship whereby people sat, listened to the words of the sermon spoken from the pulpits. The idea being that you absorb the words and live your life accordingly. It was less important to see what the priest was doing, and the altar became secondary to the pulpit. Moving on, you see the glory of the church, the east window. It would have been larger at one point, but some of the panels were knocked out and the window, the lower part of the window, blocked up to make way for the reredos. It was installed in the 1470s by the rector at the time, John Walker, a very rich man from a rich family. He had himself portrayed in the window so nobody could forget, and you may be able to see him. In fact, you will be able to see him. He stood at the right knee of Christ in red, kneeling in prayer. Here's the altar, 17th century altar rails. We move on down to the next phase of development after the extension of the chapel and the nave, the southeast chapel, and this is the original floor level. The floor for the rest of the church was raised in the 17th century, possibly to sell burial spaces. There was an east window here as well. It was much larger. It's since been blocked out with a small window placed in it. And the door in the corner is also blocked. So we move on. The south aisle was built onto the end of the southeast chapel, which was the next phase of building. You can see the difference in floor level. Moving on to the south chapel, the next phase of building. paid for by a rich family to commemorate their father. Private masses would be said here by the priest. You can see some of the church furniture for the storage of vessels. You can see an old altar slab that was discovered in an archaeological excavation. It was found under the floor. It is cracked, whether that was done deliberately to destroy its power in the Reformation or just accidentally. You can see consecration marks. 1, 2, 3, 4. There may be another one somewhere. To the left, you can see a hagioscope or squint. It was important for the priest saying Mass in this chantry chapel to keep time with the priest saying Mass in the main church. This hagioscope allowed him to do that. The winged mice that you may see are part of a children's game to get them interested in the church. Moving round, you see these two windows to the south, in the south of the south chapel. They would have been originally in this west wall that would have been here before this was built. These are an example of benefaction boards raised to commemorate people who left money or land in the will to benefit poorer people, primarily for the education of children. These pews here are newer Victorian pews. The box pews fell out of favour after the advent of the Oxford movement, the Tractarians. They believed box pews were elitist. They also may have been afraid that people who couldn't afford to pay for the box pews would go to the Methodists or other nonconformist churches. You can see from the brickwork where the roof has been raised at some point. This church has a piecemeal history of developments, demolition, redevelopment, which is very difficult to decipher. But that makes it a very interesting, quirky church. Come to the final major development, the addition of the north aisle. Which was concurrent with the emplacement of a tower. It's difficult to see how anybody ever got up there. That's a mystery to be solved. There is a trapdoor up there. The bells are not used anymore, they're considered unsafe. The church was also extended westward. You can see from the lighter masonry where the old west door was. The board to the right is a mayoral board. I do apologise for that, that's local building works. On this one is commemorated the Railway King George Hudson. Any member of the congregation who became mayor would get their name on the mayoral board. This one dates from William IV. We have another one dating from James II. So as I said, the church was also extended westward when the north aisle and the tower were built. Here you can see some box pews for any visiting local dignitary. It's obvious from the church that it's not straight anywhere. It's very higgledy-piggledy. That's possibly because whoever installed the false floor didn't do a very good job, but also this church stands on the site of previous buildings from the Viking, the Saxon and the Roman era, so it's built on very unsteady foundations. But for all that, and possibly because of that, this church is very interesting, very magnificent, and you can almost feel the presence of the communities that used it. Grave slabs in the floor. These are polished limestone and very old. The brass has been removed at some point. And we exit through the south door, the only door to the church, as I've said, above which is a monarch's boat. The monarch being the head of the church, it was mandatory at one point for all churches to have one of these. This one is George I. It didn't matter who you had, so long as you had one. This south door has a pointed arch. It's set within a square-headed one, so whether there was a door already to the south, it's very likely. But don't quote me on that. We'll go back out once more. Just to have a look at the tower. The tower, you can see, is bricked up with small windows. I would love to go up there. Whether it was bricked up during the Civil War, I don't know. Much of York, including this church, was saved from serious damage in the Civil War, as the commander of the Parliamentary Army was Sir Thomas Fairfax, a local gentleman, and we have the Fairfaxes to thank. I would like to thank you for bearing with me on this short, very unprofessional tour, which may not entirely be accurate, but basically I think it is. Thank you for your attention, and I hope you choose to visit this church if you find yourself in York. You would be very welcome. It is open Tuesday to Sunday, 11 till 3. Thank you very much.